Speaker. The Secretary of State has just said once again that the new administration wants to secure a deal rather than leave without one. Yet we know that no new concrete proposals have been presented to the EU. It's been reported that in the technical talks that took place yesterday between the UK's chief negotiator and EU Commission officials, that the UK team made clear that the government wants to jettison the level playing field provisions contained in the withdrawal agreement. Can the Secretary of State confirm that removing these provisions is now the government's preference?
Mr. Speaker, is, as he says, that the government does want to leave with a deal. But what we also know is the benches opposite neither want a deal, nor are they prepared to leave with no deal. And so they're not prepared to leave at all. In terms of the government's proposals and what we put forward, we made clear in the letter to President Tusk that the issues, notwithstanding concerns with the wider withdrawal agreement amongst many of my colleagues on these benches, the issues have been narrowed down to the issue of the backstop. That is distinct from the Northern Ireland Protocol as a whole, and that is the constructive approach the Prime Minister has taken. He's also, Mr. Speaker, answered a charge that was often levelled from those benches, which was what sort of deal are we seeking in the political declaration. The charge of blind Brexit was often levelled at me. The Prime Minister has answered that question. It is a best-in-class FTA that he is seeking. He's been crystal clear on that issue.
Mr. Speaker, there was no answer there on the level playing field provisions, and I'm not sure why the Secretary of State is so reluctant to confirm that regulatory divergence from the EU rather than alignment with it is what this government wants to achieve. After all, as he mentioned in the Prime Minister's letter to Donald Tusk of the 19th of August, that for him was, and I quote, the point of our exit. We've gone from Canada plus plus plus, Mr. Speaker, to Canada minus minus, with barely a mention and no debate in this House. Let me ask the Secretary of State this simple question. Will the government now come clean with the British public about the fact that far from maintaining them, ministers want the freedom to chip away at workers' rights, environmental protections and consumer standards?
No, I think what's staggering about the honourable gentleman's question is his desire. But the honourable gives me a moment. I was just coming on to do precisely that. The point of issue, Mr. Speaker, is the UK a sovereign state, able to determine its own laws and regulations, or is it in dynamic alignment where it is taking rules and regulations from the Commission over which we would have no vote? And they may huff and puff. What that suggests, Mr. Speaker, is actually they want this Parliament to continue to take rules from the Commission, but in the future to have no say over those rules. So we do want a situation where you have two sovereign states, but it's not on the basis of deregulation, it's about its sovereignty.